In today's episode, we're talking about guest books. Do you need them or don't you?
Vacation Rental Machine helps hosts just like you learn how to start, grow, and scale your short-term rental business. This show is all about creating systems that help you automate your business, giving you more time and money freedom. If you're ready to start living the vacation rental life, then subscribe to this podcast today. Come and join us on our Facebook group, The Host Nation, where we'll be talking about starting, automating, and scaling a short-term rental business. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back, host. I wanted to talk to you guys about guest books today. So there are a few different types of guest books that are very popular. Technically, it's only two, in my opinion, that we should talk about. There's physical and digital guest books. We all know and are very familiar with physical guest books because most of us have them or already have read stuff about them. There's also digital guest books out there, but which one should you have in your unit? Let's go over some pros and cons of both to kind of get a better idea of what we really need. All right, physical guest books. That's the book that you're going to have in the room. It should be laminated or something like that. It normally goes in a place where the guests can see it and they can flip through it and read all the items and stuff that you have available. One of the biggest pros of having a physical guest book is that it's physically in the room and readily available for the guests to use during their stay. Another advantage is it doesn't require the guest to have any type of device to read or to just get access to the guest book itself. One of the cons of having a physical guest book is when you need to update it. Updating a physical guest book could mean that you have to reprint the entire book or a page and get it relaminated or whatever you need to do to get the update added. And if it's just a small change, you might not want to throw that in, or you might not want to make that change right away because it's just a small change, but it costs you however much to print out the guest book in general. The other disadvantage to a physical guest book is your guests cannot travel with it. They can't really walk around outside of the place to have it in their hands to find exactly where you're talking about going as far as recommendations and stuff like that. That walks me right into digital guest books. Some of the biggest advantages of having a digital guest book is you're able to put it in the hands of your guests before they check in. So you might be able to include instructions on how to check into the property at the same time, maybe include maps and stuff to get to the place from the airport or from wherever they are, or maybe tips and tricks on just navigating into the unit itself if it's a tricky place to check in. What I like about digital guest books is I can put it in the hands of my guests before they actually check in. So where my check-in process might be somewhat tricky, I'm able to put something in their hands that shows them exactly how to do this. It also gives them something to do. Maybe if they arrive a little early and they want to just go grab a bite before checking in, you could have those recommendations in there. One of the other advantages of a digital guest book is it's handheld. So if they're away from the apartment or home, they can open it back up and possibly even find directions, walking directions to wherever you're suggesting that they go inside the guest book. So that is another big plus. In some of the other digital guest books, you're able to include maybe photos or coupon codes, maybe that you've already pre-negotiated with vendors. So if you're able to do that, then you're able to give them something that they can go grab a bite to eat, maybe on a discount, or go get a massage on a discount, or whatever you've negotiated with your other business owners. They're also able to see all of your extra services prior to checking in. So one of the services that I do is kind of like a romance package thing where we do some champagne and some other little things that we set up just around the room. It has a fee, of course. Our guests can actually purchase that before they check in, and we can just have it set up via our cleaners before they check in and everything is set. The reverse of that would be just having the room opened and available after they check in. We'd have to kind of go in and do that dance, and it's a little more difficult to offer that service. But the biggest advantage of a digital guest book is it's instantly updated. You make one change at one central location, everything is updated from there. There are also a few providers of digital guest books. Some providers allow you to add in extra services. So if you have an extra service, let's just say maybe you can offer a massage, or maybe you do a setup of a room differently. If somebody were to pay for it, you can charge that, or they have access to see what that service is and can get it charged before they even come and stay. So those are the biggest advantages of a digital guest book. Couple of cons about a digital guest book. One, there is nothing physically inside of the room. The best you might be able to do is maybe a QR code that somebody could scan to open up your guest book via an app or just the browser on their device. But it requires their device. Your international guest might not have internet access until you give them a Wi-Fi code. So unless you give them the Wi-Fi code in another means, they might not be able to open this digital guest book. So there's some complexities when it comes to not having a physical guest book. Outside of that, Airbnb Plus does require that you have a physical guest book inside the property. So keep that in mind if that's one way that you guys want to go. What's needed in a guest book? This is very easy, right? We need to put our tips on places that we want to go, places that we want our guests to go see, top restaurants, most importantly, the Wi-Fi code, emergency contacts, any details about operating any devices or locks or anything in the home that might be tricky. There should be parking details, your checkout process, possibly your check-in process. We also want to include our house rules. And one other thing that we might want to include is our extra services. If you do have those extra services that are there for a fee, you should put those in your guest book so your guests can actually see them and maybe want to order them, and you can set up whatever it is that you are trying to add as a special add-in. So guest books are definitely another way to include extra services, try to create some extra revenue. It should be a part of our daily business to try to get more dollars out of our guest. So let's make sure that we do this guest book right. There are a couple of tools that I can put out there for you guys to try. I'm going to include some of those links down in this post. I prefer the digital guest books, but that doesn't mean that I don't have physical guest books as well. I just like to have something in their hands that can also drive extra revenue.
Hope you hosts found value in this episode. If you did, please go on over to iTunes and leave us a review, as that would greatly support the show. If you'd like to connect with Jon, the community, and I, then go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation. Talk to you hosts in the next episode. Keep on hosting.